Hi there. You're thinking of upgrading your mesh Wi-Fi system, so you're looking at 3 different types of TP-Link mesh Wi-Fis. You're looking at ones that have got Wi-Fi 5, Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 7. Each one costs a little bit different. Going up costs more. What benefit do they give you? Let's go through that right now. Hello. Right, first of all, this is standard stuff you'll hear off the internet, which is upgrading to a newer Wi-Fi standard will improve your network speed, security and efficiency. It does say it might require you to use new hardware. That's because some of your old gadgetry mightn't work with it, but you're future proofing if you go to Wi-Fi 7, for example, or even Wi-Fi 6. Let me show you the difference between the different Wi-Fi. So if I start over here on Wi-Fi 5, so Wi-Fi 5 maxes out at 1.3 gigabits per second. Now that is probably notably more than your broadband provider at the moment. I would have thought your average broadband provider might be getting up to 300 megabits per second. So these are gigabits. So that's 1,000. That's 1,300 megabits per second you're getting there. That's massive, really. But as data becomes more of a requirement, as things such as high definition television, gaming and things like that come online, perhaps you want to look the next stage up. So that's Wi-Fi 5. Wi-Fi 6 is now, that brings you right up to 10 to 11 gigabits. So a minute ago 1.3. Wi-Fi 6 is basically giving you 10 times the capacity. Okay, it can handle more devices. So if you've got a big household with lots of people using the network, that's even better. You've got better security protocol, and as said, there can be used to future proof. So this is a big upgrade, but you are going to pay more for that. And let's go to Wi-Fi 7. That's the maximum. That's 46 gigabits. So here, look, we're on 10 to 11. You've quadrupled it and more again. So again, it also provides multiple bands, and it's basically got better tech. So you can switch between bands, because normally it's 5 gigahertz or 2.4 gigahertz signals, depending on what equipment you're using. This is a lot more smarter, so it can handle more data. It can flick stuff around. It's pretty damn good. But how the hell does all this fit into your different TP links? Right, let me show you all about that. So here we go. We got a TP link comparison here. So I've got a Deco E4, which is quite old actually. That's probably 4 years old, 5 years old. And that's a Wi-Fi 5. We got a more modern one, which is a Deco X60, which runs on Wi-Fi 6, and we got a Deco BE65 that runs on Wi-Fi 7. Okay, so let me show you the prices of these first. Let's go back to here and see if we can get you the prices. There we go. So there's the first one. That's your E4. So that's the Wi-Fi 5. So 82 quid. So less than £100. You're getting 3 units. That's going to give you pretty good coverage. But we'll come to the limitations with that in a minute. 82 quid. The next one up, the Wi-Fi 6. That's the middle one. That is 259 quid. So paying a fair bit more, but you're getting a much more robust Wi-Fi system. And then if you go to the top end on the Wi-Fi 7, 580. So if you've got the cash to splash, that's the way to go. But you're paying a premium. I would say you could go on the middle, or even go on the lower ones, and there are other ones other than E4. There are all manner of TP-Link mesh Wi-Fi's, and you can mix and match. If you do mix and match, what you need to do is look at the specifications of each of the units you've got and use your best unit as your primary node. So that's the one that will plug into your router that comes from your broadband provider, and then all the other nodes speak to that. So you basically want to have the best nodes towards the router, and the lesser roads which sort of daisy chain either through cables or via Wi-Fi further away, and have your lesser ones, because there's going to be less traffic probably on the well, there's going to be less traffic further away, but also it's almost like, imagine water pipes. There's no point having the thinnest pipe at at the intake. You want the thickest pipe at the intake and the thinner pipes out where you're sprinkling your plants. Okay, that's my little analogy there. So anyway, back to these units. So we've got the E4, the X60 and the BE65. Okay, so there we go. We've got Wi-Fi 5, Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 7. And as you can see, the first one there, they run on the first two run on 5 gigahertz and 2.4 gigahertz, but the third one also runs on 6 gigahertz as well. So the Wi-Fi 7 gives you more options, if you like. Then you're looking at the speed. So here we've got the first one. I'm just going to refer to them as Wi-Fi 5 units, because I have to keep thinking E4, X60, BE65. So the Wi-Fi 5 unit speed, as you can see, it's not quite up to 1 gigahertz there. I'm sorry, gigabit per second. It's 867. But then the Wi-Fi 6 that jumps up massively, and then the Wi-Fi 7 jumps up big as well. But it's also got the additional frequencies on which it can transmit the data. So if you just add them together, if you like, on the left we've got 1.2, in the middle we got 5.4, and on the right hand side, what's that? That's going to be about 9. So you've got progressively faster Wi-Fi as you move from Wi-Fi 5 to Wi-Fi 6 to Wi-Fi 7, and there's where it's giving you the range, a sort of typical household. So it's basically saying the further to the right you go, the more money you spend, the better Wi-Fi system you get, the more able it is to cater for a bigger house. Okay, and you can also see down here we've got the number of antennas, the way that it can send information out is good. One thing to be mindful of is that if you have got very thick walls, you might have to look at something that uses some different technology, such as power line technology. So there you might be looking for a Deco P9, I think is the one. That's the one that I've got, and that will allow you to take a cable from one room, or plug one node in one room, plug one in the other in another room on the same electric circuit, but in a different area of the house on the other side of a wall, and that'll allow you to get around that. They all struggle a bit with really thick walls, I'll be honest. So here's the capacity: medium, high, very high. So it's telling you all about that. I'm going to crack on through this. You've got additional functionality, and the security here as you move from left to right gets better. Basically, that's all you need to know. You've got guest networks as well, so this limits the speed that your guests can use it, because the one thing you can do with all of these systems is you can set up your own network, and you can call it your name. So you could call it Fred, and you can set up the password. It could be Freddy, that could be a password. And then you could set up another say you run a B&B, you could set your guest network up as B&B, and the password could be B&B1. So people who have Airbnb, for example, they would say, okay, let's set up a normal Wi-Fi for ourselves at home. When we're using it, we can use the maximum power. When we've got guests living in there, we don't need to be downloading too much data for whatever reason, so we can restrict them by giving them the different Wi-Fi name and password. So you can do that, or if people come into your home, you can give them different access to different networks within your own home. You can do this for kids as well, so you can then using parental controls make some of the networks you create open to less websites and less data and things like that, to make it more appropriate for kids who might be using the internet. Okay, I'll carry on down through here. Here's the Ethernet port. So this is when you're connecting from your router into your node, or if you have, for example, gone with a cable from your router to your first node, you could have gone Wi-Fi to your next node, then you might plug in a cable, say into a laptop, because perhaps your laptop has got Wi-Fi or something. One thing you need to be aware of on the E4, which is in this instance is the 5 Mesh Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi 5. On the ports, it will only max out at 100 megabits per second. You've got to be mindful of that. It can transmit faster over the Wi-Fi, but from using cables, it's quite a bit less. So if I was going to recommend something on the Wi-Fi 5, I wouldn't get a E4, I would maybe go for something like an M4 or an M5, something like that. I'll show you those in a minute. Or if you're going Wi-Fi 6, you've got gigabit ports, so 2 number gigabit ports there. And then on the Wi-Fi 7, 2.5 gigabits per second ports on there. You've got 4 of them. So basically it boots up, it improves as you go further to the right. You've also got parental controls on there. You've got and quality of service isn't something else that these Wi-Fi's allow you to do, these mesh Wi-Fi systems. So this basically allows you to prioritize different devices to have a priority in your network. So let's just say you're working at home and you want your laptop to have priority. Great, you can make that the daddy. If you want your television to stream high definition movies to have priority, you can divert it that way. Or maybe gaming, you can divert it that way. So you can manage it using the app, and the app's quite intuitive to be able to prioritize where that data is going. It won't stop the data going at other places, but it will prioritize. And then we go through all the rest of the gubbins. Okay, so it's talking all manner of different stuff, transmission stuff. I'm not going to go into that, okay? And then what you get in the pack. So let me just quickly now go through a couple of other Mesh Wi-Fi 5 options. So here, folks, showing you 3 of the Wi-Fi 5 options. So these are the cheaper options. You've got an E4, which is the one I showed you a minute ago. You've got an M4, which is slightly better. You've got a P9, which is slightly better. Again, let me show you what I mean. So on here, you can see that let's just cut right to the chase. You can see the Wi-Fi speeds are exactly the same. The Wi-Fi range is slightly better on the 2 newer ones moving further to the right. So that would be your M4 and your P9. Okay. So the range is slightly better. Not a massive difference as we work our way through. Guest networks are identical, so you can set those up, but this is where it gets a little bit different. The Ethernet port, so the plugged in port on that E4 is only 100 megabits per second, whereas the other 2 are 2 times gigabit ports. So these are the ones to go for rather than the E4. Okay, recommend these 2. So that's the let me remind myself, that is the M4 and the P9. Okay, so they are the ones to go for the M4 and the P9. We'll have a look at the price of those in a minute. So you've got the benefit on the port. So it means basically the weakest link of the chain is better than it was. Okay. And then let's work our way down. There's one other thing that the P9 does, which I was just going to tell you about a minute ago. It's got that thing there, look. Power line speeds. Home plug AV2. What the hell does that mean? And this is where I'm saying earlier, and seek out one of my videos, you can plug it in, it will use the electrical circuit to get through really solid walls or get around them. So it's something just worth considering, folks, okay? Now I'm going to give you the prices of these 3 items. So this is the E4, the M4 and the P9. So there you go, folks. There's the E4, it's £82.99. There is the Wi-Fi 6 there. That's the X60, £259.99. Then you go top end, 580 quid Wi-Fi 7. That's 580. Now, the M4 compared to the E4 is 96.99. So for another 10 quid, that is better than the E4. I'd get that rather than the E4. The P9 allows you also to have that power line technology for 144 quid. You've got thick concrete walls, I would go for that. So there you go. That's what I would be looking at. So final recommendations. So folks, what would I go for? Well, if I had 200 and let me just show you on the side of the screen over there. If I had £259 sitting around and I wanted to make sure I was future proof, I'd go for the X60, which is getting you that Wi-Fi 6 technology. It's going to be a really nice future proof system. You could even add that to the start of an older setup if you've got such a thing. If I wasn't going to go for that and I was going to go for something a little bit cheaper, I would, if I had to go through thick walls, I'd be looking at the P9, which is Mesh Wifi 5, but does have that power line technology to get me around those thick walls. That's going to cost me 145 quid, £144. If I didn't have thick walls to contend with and I thought, you know, I just want an upgrade from what I've currently got, an improvement, I'll go for the M4, which is again Mesh Wi-Fi 5 technology, 96.99. that is. It's better than the E4, which I know are reviewed. Not massively different, apart from the ports have got a gigabit rather than 100 megabit per second ports, which will give you benefits. So cheapest option, 96.99, is the M4. Next option is the P9 at 144.98, and if it was me and I was going to put my hand in my pocket now and get a better system as well, had no thick walls, I would go for the X60 at £259. There you go, folks. My view on 3 or 4 Mesh Wi-Fi options there from Deco TP-Link. Catch you guys on the mesh flip side. I couldn't have said it better myself.